Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my Week 6 Top 25 review. This literally might be one of the best weeks for college football I have ever seen. I mean, in terms of upsets and stuff, this week was absolutely amazing. But without spoiling too much, let's just get straight into this thing. A like and subscribe, up a comment, always else. Let's go. So apparently, I just decided to straight up skip the Alabama Vanderbilt game. I don't think this was intentional. Like sometimes I skip top 25 matchups if I believe it's going to be a blowout, but I wouldn't have skipped this one if I saw it. I straight up just glossed over it when I was making the video. I must have just eyeballs went right over it, didn't even see it. And it happened to be the game of the week. So I mean, it saves me what would have been a loss on my predictions this year. I would not have guessed this. But Alabama, obviously, we know the story, lost to Vanderbilt. And it was a historical upset for sure. However, do not blink twice about Vanderbilt or Alabama. Alabama should still be the number one team. Yes, I said it. Even though they lose at Vanderbilt and it's obviously going to look terrible, there is something major that I took away from this game, and it was the fact that Vanderbilt had 42 minutes of possession time to Alabama's 18 minutes, and Alabama still managed to score 35 points. I mean, technically, in terms of offense, Alabama still outscored Vanderbilt even with how much time they had because they threw a pick six. Jalen Milroe threw a pick six. So in terms of offense only, I mean, technically speaking, Alabama still outscored Vanderbilt. But when you give the other team almost 3/4 of possession time to your 18, and you still score 35 points, that should show you how high-powered of an offense this Alabama team is. Now, the only problem with Alabama that I recognized was really their defense, and if anything showed in their Georgia game and this game, it was the lack of defense. Now, in the first half of the Georgia-Alabama game, defense shut down Georgia, but obviously failed to shut them down the rest of the game, and they relied on a 75-yard touchdown pass by Jalen Milroe to Ryan Williams and their offense to pretty much lock up. Now, their cornerback did have a great play to put the game out, but it was also kind of a stupid throw. A stupid throw by Carson Beck, in my opinion, but whatever. Their defense allowed 34 points against Georgia, I think. Either 33 or 34. Yeah, 34. And in this game, they allow 40 to Vanderbilt. I mean, again, technically speaking, they only allowed 33 because one was a pick six. But still, I mean, pick sixes are still a huge thing. The main takeaway was, I mean, Alabama just did not perform disciplined on the road. They had 57 yards of penalties to Vanderbilt's 20. They had 2 turnovers. One was a pick six. And they just couldn't, they had no possession time. They couldn't get Vanderbilt off the field. They couldn't give their offense time to roll. And that was what led to their demise. So I'm not happy with the fact that Alabama drops all the way down to 7 after this loss. But quite frankly, Georgia stays at number 5. That doesn't make sense. But it makes sense that they at least drop underneath all the undefeated teams because that's how it should be. It's respectable. But I am happy that Vanderbilt didn't get ranked. Even though a lot of people have them in their top 25 and stuff, we got to remember Vanderbilt lost to Georgia State and Missouri, which Missouri is now all the way down to 21, and Georgia State is nowhere near the top 25. Vanderbilt just had a generational upset that will probably not happen again for another decade, and that's all there is to it. It was still a really fun upset, and I was super hyped about it, but we shouldn't blink twice, and when Alabama ends up being the SEC champion, we shouldn't really be surprised if that happens. I still don't really know how good Texas is. I guess we'll see in the upcoming week. Obviously, Texas is a very good football team, but they're still yet to play anybody. Obviously, Michigan is just a shithole right now, and Oklahoma is also a shithole, and they're going to get absolutely clobbered. Even if they have such a good defense, they're just going to get steamrolled. It's really going to be that that Georgia game. And then later in the year, I mean, at Arkansas could be interesting. I mean, everybody counted them out against Tennessee. Can't count them out against Texas now. And then at Texas A&M is going to be super interesting. I mean, Texas does have to play at Vanderbilt, so that would also be kind of interesting. But I think Alabama still stands the strongest chance at the SEC championship right now, and to win it as well. Michigan State at Oregon. Finally into the predictions that I made. I kind of got the feeling that Oregon is finally going to settle into their place of dominance. They started off the year slow. That Idaho game was not impressive whatsoever. It took all 4 quarters for Oregon to pretty much pull away. And then when they win by 3 points against Boise State, everybody's like, this team's overrated. They shouldn't have been ranked. But now Boise State has a Heisman candidate running back there. They're up to number 17, and they're probably the group of 5 team to make it. And Oregon, prevailed. It was close, but they prevailed. And now they are finally settling into their state of dominance. Now, a lot of people, here's my prediction first. I said 14-42. Final score was 10-31. Both teams, Oregon more than Michigan State, had opportunities in the red zone to put up more points. Now, Michigan State's quarterback absolutely sold the game early and pretty much said, okay, we lost. When he ran for it and just straight up dove into the defenders and did not protect the ball and fumbled it, that is just the one thing you couldn't do there. Try to play hero, and then you end up dropping it. Well, Dylan Gabriel also messed up twice in the red zone. I think he threw a pick on the 1-yard line, and then within the other one within the 10-yard line. So Oregon easily missed out on 2 touchdowns there. Michigan State also missed out on a touchdown. So 31 could have been more. Also could have been more than 10, but more in Oregon's favor than anything. And they still managed to dominate this team. They are falling into their state of dominance like I expected in this game. And perfect timing because they play Ohio State this weekend. That is the game of the week. They play Ohio State. Ohio State is favored by 3 points. But I just sit here and look at how Ohio State has played and who they have played. I guess they did play Michigan State technically better than Oregon did, and that game was over in the third quarter. But it's still at least Oregon has a win over Boise State, so I'm not too sure how that game's going to go. It's also home field advantage, and Oregon kind of has Ohio State's number, at least except for the 2014 national championship, of course. But, I mean, in 2021, nobody expected Oregon to go in there and take a W against Ohio State in their home stadium they managed. So maybe they could carry over some spirit from that game all those years ago into this game. But I'm not too sure what's going to happen there. But Oregon is finally starting to look like the number 3 team like they started this year, I believe. I think they started off number 3. So it's starting to look better for Oregon. They're starting to move their way back up in the rankings. Missouri at Texas A&M. Oh, boy. So I sort of wanted to pick Texas A&M, but I felt like this could be this felt like a trap game for me as a predictor. Because, obviously, you want to pick Texas A&M in their home field because they've got one of the greatest home field advantages of all time. And you look at Missouri and who they've played, and they've barely beat Boston College and Vanderbilt in double overtime. And, of course, predicting this was before Vanderbilt beat Alabama, so I didn't really have any, I was kind of skeptical of Missouri, but I was also very skeptical of Texas A&M, mainly because I thought they benched their quarterback and they were, figuring things out, so it's still a little bit questionable there, as well as Texas A&M, 6-point win against Bowling Green, 4-point win against Arkansas. It's I don't really know if they're going to be able to take down number 9, but my prediction was Missouri wins by 3 in a defensive battle. I also wasn't sure about Brady Cook for Missouri. I was like, is he going to be able to perform in this game, because he hasn't really looked like he's been doing much offensively, so it's got to be the defense, and I think the defense will stand up. I guess what I was thinking is Missouri's defense is good, Notre Dame's defense is good. Texas A&M got shut down in their home stadium by Notre Dame's defense. Maybe Missouri can kind of do the same. Wrong, terribly wrong. Yeah, Brady Cook looked like absolute honky shit in this game. Really, he is 13 for 31, 186 yards, and 1 touchdown. And that, like, plenty of those yards came in shit time. He threw a 59-yard touchdown pass when they were down 34-0 to go up 34-7. 59 yards and a touchdown and a completion added onto that. Take that away, he's 12 for 30, like 130 yards. That's it. That's it for Brady Cook. He had a hideous game. Whereas on the other side of things, they could not put a halt to Connor Wayman. I think that's how you say it. They could not stop him as well as they couldn't stop the running back. 12 carries, 138 yards, and 3 touchdowns. The defense had no answer to Texas A&M. They had no answer. And then, of course, the blanket for Texas A&M speaks what the defense did to Missouri. I mean, they absolutely locked down Missouri defensively. Texas A&M just was the better team here. They just straight up were the better team. Is it a matter of time before, Missouri gets knocked out of the rankings? Possibly. They have to play at Massachusetts, which should be an easy win. Host Auburn, easy win. But then, at Alabama, probably not happening. Host Oklahoma, yeah. At South Carolina could be a little bit interesting. Not sure, though. At Mississippi State, give them the win, and then host Arkansas. So they're really looking at only one other loss this year. Like, in reality, I mean, maybe Oklahoma could make it interesting with their solid defense, but it is a home game. They're looking at like a 2-loss team, but they might be the most fraudulent two-loss team just because of the difficulty of schedule. Like, this was a must-win for Missouri, but it was also a must-win for Texas A&M because now Texas A&M has completely pulled a 360. They're undefeated in conference play right now. Their only loss is to Notre Dame, in which, there was obviously some technical difficulties that have since been fixed since that game. You're going to hold the first game of the year against them. That's kind of not how that should work. Texas A&M has to go at Mississippi State. Then after a bye week as well, they get a bye week after this. Then they host LSU at South Carolina, host New Mexico State at Auburn, and host Texas. I mean, seriously, I don't even want to say they could go a 2-loss team. I really think this team, I don't want to overreact here, this team could go 1 loss. I mean, that Texas A&M game is going to be absolutely lit this year. They have not played each other, and they are big-time rivals. That game is going to be absolutely lit, and both teams it's going to be a close game. Whether one team is good or bad, it will always be a close game. But other than that, I mean, sorry, I almost coughed. I almost choked on my spit. Other than that, like, you look at A&M's schedule, they've got one more ranked team on their schedule, LSU. And LSU really shouldn't be ranked. It's only a matter of time before they get knocked out of the rankings. I'll explain that one later when I get to a more specific game. But like, you look at it, they've got pretty much one team that's going to finish in the top 25 at the end of the year, and it's going to be Texas. The rest of them are not going to make it into the top 25. And Texas A&M, at the very least, I could very well see them being a 2-loss team, maybe getting a playoff spot. I don't know. I'm not too sure. But this was definitely a must-win game for A&M, and they did more than just win. They freaking dominated. SMU at Louisville. This was kind of a wake-up call for what SMU actually is. And I just think it is so stupid how they can still have Michigan in the top 25. They can still keep Michigan in the top 25, but they can't put SMU higher than 25, even though they're a 1-loss team and they just beat a ranked opponent. Now, I said Louisville would win a high-scoring game, but Louisville did what they did against Notre Dame, like I explained in the prediction video. They just played too aggressive, and that's where SMU just took advantage, they only lose by 7 points, but when it comes down to it, they failed 2 of their 4 fourth down conversions. And, I mean, I think the interception came at the end of the game, so that doesn't really count as a major turnover, although I guess it did sort of put the game away, but I'm sure it was probably just, like a prayer. I'm sure it was just a prayer. But, both teams had even penalty yards. Louisville had the ball for 35 minutes to SMU's 25. It's just those fourth downs, man. If you're going to go for fourth downs, you've got to lock it in and get it. You've got to lock it in. I mean, SMU even missed a field goal in this game. But when you're at the SMU 19, SMU missed a field goal. I mean, you kick a field goal here and go up. You kick a field goal here, go up 30-27. SMU punts right after. That's just one of the failed fourth down conversions. You play aggressive, you're going to lose because you're playing aggressive. Because, I mean, the moment you fail a fourth down conversion, you hand the other team so much momentum and so much advantage over you. I mean, you just gave them a possession. You opted to put yourself in a area where you can turn the ball over, and the defense knows that, and they stop you. It's I don't know if they're counting a failed fourth down conversion as the interception at the end of the game, because I can't find the other time they failed on down. So I think they only failed one fourth down conversion, which makes it a little bit better. But still, I mean, I stand tall on what I say. If SMU misses a field goal, they literally missed a field goal from the Louisville 33. Sorry, I'm stuttering. And then you go right down the field and get right to the 19, and you choose to go for it on a 4th and 1. I mean, how do you not convert a 4th and 1? Really, it's very simple. It's a yard. You just got to get a yard. But you got to take advantage of what you have, and that's what's pissing me off about Louisville. It's SMU missed a field goal. Boom. Golden opportunity to take the lead. What do? You go for it on 4th down, and you give all the momentum and everything SMU just lost. You give it right back to them, and it's just dumb. SMU had barely any more yards, yet they're winning by 7 points. Both teams are very split, very even in penalty yards, very even in almost every single category except for that one failed fourth down conversion. And then, I mean, at the end of the game, 4th and 19 interception. Ultimately, this game could have been different if if Louisville just didn't be so aggressive. That's literally what has, in my opinion at least, brought Louisville down right now from maybe being undefeated. This one a little bit, more questionable, but that Notre Dame game, when you give the ball away 7 times, you're not winning a football game. You fail 4 of your 5 fourth down conversions, and you turn the ball away 3 times. And Notre Dame fails 1 fourth down conversion, gives the ball away 2 times. So you give it away 7 times, they give it away 3 times. That's a 4-0 ratio of giving them the damn ball, and they only win by 7. I'm just saying, man, if Louisville could play more passive and dial in a little bit and stop being so damn aggressive, their season could be different. Now on to SMU, though, the thing that pisses me off as to why they're only number 25 is it's not easy to hit the road and go play Louisville and win. It's not easy at all, dude. You got to give them some major, major credit for doing what they did. Even when Louisville did do well of controlling the time of possession game, you're going into their home stadium where they're favored by 6.5. So basically they're saying they're going to win by 7 and you win by 7. That's a very good performance. But who is SMU's only loss? It's a home game for SMU against BYU. That's their only loss. Guess what? BYU is undefeated right now, sitting at number 14, and they could go up even more this weekend. They get to host Arizona. After that, they host Oklahoma State. I mean, it is lining up to be a fairly easy schedule for BYU. I mean, seriously, if you look at BYU's schedule, dude, host Arizona, host Oklahoma State, at UCF, at Utah, host Kansas, at ASU, host Houston. They could go undefeated. I mean, that sounds crazy. They could go regular season undefeated. Really, in all reality, unless Cam Rising gets healthy for that Utah game, they could go undefeated. And SMU lost by a whole whopping 3 points, and that's their only loss. And all the committee can give them is number 25. All this work they have done, they're just going to disregard it. It's unbelievable. But they won't kick Michigan out of the top 25. It's so biased. It's either bias or it's the fact that they put Michigan at like number 9 in the preseason rankings, and now they're not even supposed to be ranked. You know, they had no problem kicking USC out because what? They were ranked number 24 when they started the year. Oh, they're now number 26. Oh, we were pretty close. But Michigan going from like 9 to fucking 24 or what should be unranked, they just can't handle that. Or it's because it's Michigan. They can't stop rubbing their meat all over Michigan. Pisses me off, man, to see like there's just, it's like, why reward these teams? Why reward these teams with any sort of like ranking at all, except for Boise State? They love Boise State right now. Like, with all due respect, like they should. Even Pitt 5-0. Pitt 5-0. You know, big win against West Virginia, big comeback win. They're hitting the road and they're winning football games. Like, they're only at number 22. It's like, bro, I know they haven't really played anybody, but Indiana hasn't either, and they're freaking 5-6 ranks ahead of them. Like, it's just, put me in the AP poll, man. Just let me make it. That's all I have to say. Next game, Iowa at Ohio State. I was sort of wrong about this game. I said Iowa was going to make this one like close. I thought their running back, because he was like he's one of the leading rushers this year. I thought their running back might be able to get some stuff done on the ground, but ultimately this turned out to be a very defensive game. I was saying it was going to be close, but eventually Ohio State would pull away and win. I did not have for a second in my mind that Ohio State was going to lose in this game. I just thought Iowa might put together some points early on and then just defense the rest of the way and fail to put the game away. But it was 7-0 going into halftime, and the final score was 35-7. It was 7-0 with Ohio State ahead. Pretty much the third quarter was where the game was over. Iowa scored a touchdown with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. The quarterback for Iowa had the biggest fall off you can imagine. Will Howard was 21 for 25, 209 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. So, I mean, he was pretty damn good against a solid defense. Nothing that needs to be said here other than this was expected. Ole Miss at South Carolina. Now we're going to talk about LSU, even though LSU didn't play this week, and this is not related to LSU. But first, I said Ole Miss was going to win this one because I get the feeling that South Carolina isn't actually as good as we think. That was sort of what happened, except super time defense. So South Carolina, or let's talk about LSU first, like I want to. LSU ranked at number 13 right now, one-loss team. Their only loss is to USC, who is now unranked. So, first off, you're going to have LSU at number 13. USC is now unranked. 2-loss team, lost to Minnesota and Michigan, who we know are not good. Minnesota's not ranked. Michigan's number 24. That's their 2 losses. And USC wins this game by 7 points. LSU has since then won every single game up until this Ole Miss LSU game. But LSU barely scraped a 3-point win out of their ass thanks to a missed field goal. Who knows what would have happened in overtime. They barely scrape a 3-point win out at South Carolina. Ole Miss hits the road just like LSU did, and absolutely defensive shutdown this team. Absolute defensive shutdown on this team. I mean, South Carolina put up a field goal, and the score going into halftime was 24-3. And then, the final score is 27-3. Ole Miss didn't allow shit. Ole Miss didn't allow any points. Like, that was it. Like, all right, first off, why is South Carolina going for a 4th and 1 on their own 36? That is crazy. It looks like they just, 4th and 3 at the Ole Miss 30. You could kick 3 there and just take it. A missed field goal. I don't know if it was either missed or blocked, but at least they're taking it. You can't miss from the 19, so it's probably blocked. And then, 27-3. Like, game's over. You got to go for 4th and 4. And they don't get it. They got absolutely shut down defensively. Like, absolutely shut down. And this was the same team that LSU allowed to score 33 points. Ole Miss is getting ready to go into LSU. And I think it is going to be a humongous loss for LSU. It's going to be a wake-up call. Michigan, USC, and LSU are all thriving off of each other's fraudulent preseason rankings right now. That's the only reason they're in the top 25, and it's gonna get called upset and stuff like, oh, good job Minnesota, storm the field. Oh, good job Washington, storm the field. But at the end of the year, they're not even going to be close to the top 25. It's just shitty preseason rankings, shitty fraudulent preseason rankings. Like Florida State is obviously Florida State right now. But nobody will bat an eye at LSU, USC, Michigan. I mean, people have definitely been poking the bear with Michigan. But USC and LSU, like, nobody's batting an eye. They're overrated as hell, and they're going to get knocked out of the top 25 so fast. It's making me mad that they can still have LSU at number 13. It's literally just got to be their brand that is keeping them up there. There's so many other teams that I would rather have at number 13 than fucking LSU right now. There's so many better teams. It's not even close. LSU has to play one of the tougher schedules in the SEC. They have to play Ole Miss this upcoming week. Then they have to hit the road and play Arkansas. That's a rivalry, and it's at Arkansas at 4 p.m. You best believe that's probably going to be a loss. At Texas A&M, that was a forced rivalry when A&M joined the conference, and it became one for sure. You know, and then you got to go play, you got to host Alabama. That literally could be 1, 2, 3, 4 losses for LSU right there. That could be 4 whole losses, which puts them at a 5-loss team. And all those games are reasonable. Ole Miss, Arkansas, Texas A&M, Alabama. What are you going to say to those teams? Arkansas just beat Tennessee in a game they could have scored plenty more points. Texas A&M just thrashed Missouri. Ole Miss, they lost to Kentucky, so Ole Miss is still a little bit questionable in people's minds, but it's only a matter of time. You know, so if that's the one you want to say, oh, LSU can win that, have it your way. But Alabama, you think LSU's beating Alabama? Okay, at the very minimum, you're looking at a 4-loss team. That's still nowhere near number 13. They're just not going to be skilled enough to win those games, man. It makes me so mad. It actually grinds my gears. I cannot stand when they have these teams that are just inflated rankings. Indiana at Northwestern. This game was looking like I was going to have a perfect prediction. It was 27-24 with like 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I was watching it, and then with 6 minutes and 23 seconds, they just decided to score another touchdown. And then they scored another touchdown, so final score was 41-24. So I was sort of right. I said Indiana's gotten like the hype. They're in the rankings, and they were going to get a scary close one. Not a loss, but they're going to scare people with their close game against Northwestern. It was close until 6 minutes and 23 seconds. Then it kind of slipped out of reach. Indiana is a very, very highly offensive team right now. They literally, the only game they didn't score 40-plus points in was against FIU. And then in the game after that, they dropped 77. Then they beat UCLA 42-13. Charlotte, 52-14. Maryland, 42-28. Northwestern, 41-24. Like, this team has got an offense. They are very good. The question for me is, so in Indiana, you know, they do get a happy home field. Who knows how many fans are going to show up to that game. But they have to play Nebraska, and Nebraska is the exact opposite of Indiana. They have a super good defense, really good defense. Rutgers, Nebraska, 7-14. I mean, Illinois and Nebraska was a very defensive game. We knew that going into that game. There was a bit of offense. Dylan Raiola played all right, and then Colorado, Nebraska, 28-10. This team doesn't really step outside of 20-plus points. Or 30 points, I guess. They're always under 30 points, which is just more of a defensive team, sort of. Like, you know, when you look at it, they're a more defensive team, especially when you win 7-14 against the Rutgers. So you get super defense versus super offense. I don't know how that one's going to go, but Indiana's definitely got my vote right now. They are America's team. Clemson at FSU. Boo! L game of the week. Can we just cancel Florida State's season for the rest of the year because they are so fucking hideous to watch. They are 1-5 now, trying out new quarterbacks, and they are defense. That's all they are. And that was kind of what I expected this game to be. I thought it would be a bit more closer because it's rivalry. I was looking at it. I was like, well, Florida State's got a good defense. Let's see how Clemson performs against it. Sorta, just a little bit more dominant than, you know, um, expected. Or I wouldn't say expected. Just a little bit more dominant than I anticipated. Florida State sucks. Clemson shot up 5 spots in the top 25 after this win, by the way. Yeah, they shot up 5 spots in the top 25 after beating a 1-4 football team. You want to talk about brand bias at all? So Georgia sits at number 5. Clemson sits at number 10. How bad did Georgia beat Clemson? For them to be 5 rankings away. Oh, now Alabama beat Georgia. So Alabama's number 7. Clemson's number 10. You've got Clemson 3 spots away from the team that beat the team that killed Clemson. It doesn't make any sense. It's so stupid. Tennessee at Arkansas. Oh, yeah, they call me the predictor, baby. I thought this one was going to be more high scoring because I do like the quarterback for Tennessee, although he definitely showed that he is still a youngin at quarterback. He is definitely still a freshman after that final play in the game. But, you know, it was a hard game. I knew it was going to be difficult for Tennessee to go in here. And really, I mean, Arkansas could have done a lot more damage. I think they had a missed field goal, and they went for 2 fourth downs, like when they were in Tennessee's side of the field. Like, this could have been a lot worse, but they managed to pull it out in the end and get a huge upset win. With 19 or 1 minute and 17 seconds left, Malachi Singleton 11-yard run. I believe that was the backup for Arkansas. I think their starting quarterback even went out, and Tennessee failed to, bring the game back and win, only tallying 14 points, and I expected this to happen. It's just Arkansas. It's not so much that I think Tennessee's overrated. It's the fact that I think Arkansas is hellishly underrated, which also is something cool. Let's have Michigan in the top 25, but not Arkansas. Who are Arkansas's losses to? Oklahoma State, which doesn't look too good, but they lost in damn double overtime. Okay. 4-point loss to Texas A&M. That's their second loss. Texas A&M is number 15. They lost by 4 at Texas A&M. And then they beat number 4. And Arkansas is only receiving 17 points to be ranked right now. Who the hell is making the AP top 25? Like, actually. Who is making the top 25? This is so stupidly wrong that they don't have Arkansas in the top 25 after this, after how well they've performed all year. It's only a matter of time before they'll get their glory. But Tennessee, still one of the better teams in the country right now. Dropping to 8 is a respectable rank for them. I think that's pretty good. They play Florida this weekend, and then the next weekend they get to host Alabama, which, to be honest, I think that'll be an insanely good game. It just depends on how this freshman quarterback performs against Alabama's defense. I don't know if Alabama's defense is better or worse than Arkansas's yet, but we'll see how they perform. It is also home field advantage, but after that, they got to host Kentucky, which that's no free game right now. And then later in the year, they have to go play at Georgia. So it's looking like a 3-loss team for Tennessee this year. Yeah, it's looking like a 3-loss team. So people who had Tennessee at their number 1 spot in their top 25. You guys are psychopaths and really don't know much. That was just dumb. Dumb, stupid, let the hype get to your brain. Go Hogs. Fuck Tennessee. No, I'm just kidding. I don't hate Tennessee at all. Michigan at Washington. I think this is the last game I predicted. I don't know why I just got like a southern accent when I said that. Yeah, this is the last game that I put up, and we'll talk about some of the other games that happened. I expected Michigan to lose at Washington. Michigan barely snuck out a win against USC, barely snuck out a win against Minnesota, barely snuck out a win against Arkansas State. This team has been fraudulent from the get-go. And we all thought Texas, showed them that with a 31-12 domination in their home field. And I think it is hilarious how they get absolutely killed like that in their home stadium. And they only drop from 10-17. That's actually crazy, dude. That is insane. But Michigan finally got beat by the underdog, or I don't even think this was the underdog. I think they were actually favored in this game. Washington was favored to win this game the whole time. The line was 1.5 for Washington. The over-under was 39.5. Very good thinking. Michigan's got to go play at Illinois after or on the 19th. So they get a bye week to, maybe get healthy, fix some things up before that game. But still, Illinois might be a bit better. I said 24-28. It was 17-27. So not a bad prediction. And then for the other games, USC at Minnesota. So I don't know why I didn't predict this one, to be honest, because USC lost to Michigan 24-27. Minnesota lost to Michigan 24-27. Both teams lost by those same exact score in Michigan's big house. These teams are identical. Why didn't I try to predict this one? This one would have been so good to predict. But quite frankly, I think the thing that carried Minnesota to victory here. Okay, pause. Why was USC favored by 9.5? That is the most free money I've ever seen. Whatever. But the thing that I believe carried Minnesota to a victory in this game was the home field advantage, if anything. I mean, to open up the game, USC missed a field goal at the Minnesota 30. I don't know if it was blocked or anything because that's really close. But you miss a field goal that close, I mean, that's a game changer right there. And it looks like just USC could not really perform that well against this team's defense, and it's Minnesota's defense. Minnesota lost 19-17 to North Carolina. Like, North Carolina's not that good. It's like these teams were just fed. They were spoon-fed fraudulent rankings. Now, I still do like the Miller Moss quarterback, and I'm not going to lie. I did gas up USC and LSU at the start of the year, so if you made it this far, please, and if you remember, just hear me out. Like, I did gas up LSU and USC, but that was before I opened my mind up and started to think freely instead of just being told what I'm told by the AP Top 25. I thought, LSU and USC both being top 25 teams, USC winning that. I thought they were actually good teams, but as time told, the teams started to look worse and worse. So they just really, none of them were supposed to be in the top 25 in the first place. And I'm thinking about making a video explaining why there is so many upsets, in my opinion, in college football right now. And to be honest, I think the real reason why there is just so many teams dropping in and out of the top 25 and so many teams being upset is because we've got the wrong teams in the top 25. We've got the wrong teams that aren't ranked or that are ranked. Like, there's some that are definitely right and there's some that are super wrong. Like, it's only time will tell. Again, I've said that so many times. Only time will tell our final top 25. It's going to be so much different than it was last year. But Minnesota won this one. I didn't really watch this one. I think they went for it on like 4th and goal for a touchdown. I'm not really sure. I don't really remember. All I remember was I tried to tune into the game at the end, and it's just infinite review glitch. I could not even watch the game because it was just under review the whole time. Other game, Baylor at Iowa State. So Baylor actually kind of gave this Iowa State team a really tough time at the start. It was a very close game until like the fourth quarter, or really until like midway through the third quarter. Iowa State finally got up 26-21, and then they got up 33-21. Fourth quarter, they just took it home. Iowa State is a really good football team from what it looks like, at least, but still they are, they haven't really played anybody. I mean, look at it from this point of view. Iowa State, their only ranked win, their only good win right now is against Iowa. They won 20-19. Iowa just got absolutely stomped in the mouth by Ohio State, like literally just absolutely thrashed by Ohio State. You've got Iowa State all the way up to number 11 right now. That's closing in on top 10 up there with Ohio State. Like, I just don't know about that, man. I just don't know about that at all. And then one of the games of the week where game day was taking place, Cal Berkeley versus Miami. Dude, this game was over 35-10. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was like, damn, look at the damn Bears. And then Cam Ward proved why he is the correct Heisman pick. Yes, I said it. I know this Boise State running back is getting so much attention right now because he's playing out of his eyes, and he is playing out of his eyes. But we have to remember he also is playing against group of 5 teams. Cam Ward is playing against Power 5 teams, or I guess Power 4 now. And to manage to be the team, I mean, to single-handedly carry your team back, especially after beating yourself down after throwing a pick six. You know, the score is 35-10. You threw a pick six. That's where most people will just get soul crushed. But and something I love about Cam Ward is how, like, disciplined he is, how calm he is in the pocket, how, like, he is so calm and just focused and, like, he knows what he needs to do. He threw a 40-yard pick six, and then Cal scored shortly after that. The score was 35-10, and he didn't blink. He didn't blink, and he brought them all the way back and won 39-38. I mean, it does not get better than that. 35 for 53, 437 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. And honestly, a lot of those incompletions probably came at the beginning of the game rather than the end of the game. All those completions came at the end of the game. I mean, if you need to prove a more clutch factor for any quarterback in the league right now, there it is. Even against Virginia Tech, I mean, they were down 34-24, and I do think Virginia Tech should have won that game on that Hail Mary. He still managed to put his team in front after being down by 10 points. He brought them back and won that game again. He is so disciplined and so skilled. He has got to be the Heisman. I would be so disappointed to see anybody else get picked as the Heisman because it's just so, like, it's like he's doing everything right. He's doing everything right. And I know the running back for Boise State is doing very, very good, you know. But again, they beat Utah State. Like, he carried 13 carries, 186 yards, 3 touchdowns. Fabulous stat line. Probably got taken out early in the after the first half. But this Utah State team also got shut out 48-0 by USC, who is not even ranked. Like, and then they got beat by a Utah team that is absolutely terrible without Cam Rising. And then they allowed Temple to score 45 points on them. And this Utah State team is also 1-4. And so we want to get all psyched out when Boise State drops 62 and this running back runs all over him. It's like, dude, they're hideous. Like, they're worse than hideous. They're poop. Like, I like the running back. I like the running back. I think he's good. And I'm not going to gloss over the performance against Oregon either. He was definitely really, really good in that Oregon game. But also, I do think this was an Oregon team that had a lot of stuff to change at the start of the year because they also almost dropped one to Idaho. Turn around, almost dropped one to Boise State. But then they finally started to figure things out against Oregon State, UCLA, and Michigan State. Now they actually look like they're falling into place. You know, they had to make some changes. That happens to teams. That happened to Kentucky. Kentucky got killed 31-6 against South Carolina, turned around, lost by 1 point to Georgia, and then hit the road and beat Ole Miss. You know, sometimes you've just got to make some adjustments, make some changes, and you need to see where you improve. Boise State knows that their run game is good, and also the fact that the Boise State offensive line isn't in the running for the Heisman candidate race, just the running back. Like, dude, the breakaway run at the start of the Utah State game was the offensive line and a beautiful play design. I mean, Utah State could not have gotten the shit blocked out of them more. I'm just saying, man, y'all can disagree with me. It's okay. I understand why you guys disagree with me if you want this Ashton guy to beat the Heisman. I understand why you guys disagree with me. But I just think someone like Cam Ward, he's a veteran in the sport, and he's literally doing everything right now. He is playing to how every NFL scout would want to see their quarterback play. He is playing the best possible football he can play right now, and everybody wants to just glaze this Boise State running back. And I don't want to say completely gloss over Cam Ward, but really kind of just leaving him in a shadow right now. And it sucks for him. It really does. It's unfortunate that he has to be shadowed by this Boise State kid because he really is worth the Heisman race. He's worth it, bro. But enough ranting, enough yapping. That's all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like and subscribe and help a comment always helps, and that's all for me. Adios.